David says, hi, Michael, question for you. I noticed the audio files read pretty fast, and honestly, I struggle to keep up. Yeah, that happens to a lot of people. Do you think there's value in taking a smaller chunk, like 500 sentences, slowing the audio down a bit and focusing on those first? Or do you push yourself to get through the whole 2000 sentences each day, even if there's limited comprehension retention? I suppose it's quality versus quantity question, and which you found to be more effective. I mean, I'm a musician, so these things are very interesting to me. Thanks. You're right that the audio files are pretty fast. That's the way it works. I can't really tell TTS Maker to make the audio files slower. To my knowledge, maybe I just need to try, right? Maybe I'm not an expert using that kind of software, so maybe there's some way to make it slower. But the advantage of going fast has several advantages. One of them being that you get to review more content in the same amount of time. I often listen to stuff that I'm reading and listening, not for shadowing because it's weird, but and way too difficult, but for reading while listening. After the first time I do it, so I'm reading and listening the text at the same time, and I do it with the whole text, and I go back to the beginning the next day, and I listen to it at 1.25 speed while reading, and then the next day maybe at 1.5 speed, and I've tried double speed as well. Maybe it's a little bit too much and it sounds weird, but 1.25, 1.5, I do it regularly as well, just to make it faster and to be able to review more sentences in the same amount of time. If it's very difficult to do it this way, like you said, focus on a chunk first. Take 5 minutes of audio, 10 minutes of audio, and review that over and over until you can easily understand it, even if it's fast. Because I mentioned two advantages, right? The second advantage is that you're not only going fast and you're reviewing more content in the same amount of time, you're also training yourself to process the language fast. Because in the real world, one of the problems for listening comprehension and also for conversation is that you feel like the native speakers speak really quickly. People tell me that about Spanish all the time. And it's true that Spaniards often talk loud, very loudly, they're loud, and also very fast. But people say that all the time about most languages that they're learning, and it's because it's not that native speakers are speaking faster than other languages. It's that you're still. This is a problem when you mostly listen to beginner content. Hello guys, today we're going to talk about verbs again in Spanish. If you get used to that kind of speech, native speakers definitely are going to feel very fast. So if you train your comprehension with fast speech, yeah, it's going to be difficult in the beginning. But if you keep doing it daily for a few weeks, it'll be easy to understand. And if you listen to it at an even faster pace than what native speakers sound in real life, then understanding them will be way easier because they'll feel like they're speaking much more slowly than what you have been training for, right? What you used to. So that's another advantage of having fast content. Learning with training your listening skills by learning with fast content. You review more content in the same amount of time, and you get used to fast speech, and then native speakers feel slower. And that's for general comprehension, it's great, but also for conversation, it gives you more time. If you can't think fast in the language, it gives you much more time to process the language and to be able to respond. Because being able to understand what they said and then respond in time, something that makes sense, that's a problem that people often have. And we do all these speaking exercises for that. But being able to understand fast speech is also really helpful because it just gives you some extra really valuable time when you have to respond, so that it's easier for you to respond, right? So speed's good. train to get faster at both. Maybe not speak faster, but to be able to form sentences faster. Then you speak naturally, right? At a pace that's natural for you. You shouldn't try to sound like those people who speak unnaturally fast. No, but get used to understanding the language quickly. So, and again, I get this a lot from musicians. You should slow things down. You should get one sentence and really slow it down and focus on the tones and this and that. I think if you really want to work on your pronunciation, maybe this is a good idea. I think the mimic method guy, whatever his name is, does a lot of this from what I've heard. Just take a few sentences and just review them over and over again and slow them down, like really slow them down and focus on the tone and all of that. And if you want perfect pronunciation, this is great. But in the beginning, what you need is the ability to, you need to learn as much vocab as possible, because otherwise you can't understand or speak. And also, excuse me, you need as much vocab as possible, and you also need to be able to think fast in the language in complete sentences. And it's much better to know 1,000 sentences that you can use, and you can just say them when necessary, even if it's not 100% correct and you mumble them and pronunciation's not great and there's some grammar mistakes, but you can say them and you can make yourself understood with 1,000 sentences, than knowing like 50 sentences really, really, really well, but then after that you can't say anything else. Then you can't really communicate, right? So more is better in the beginning. Like, learn as many words and sentences as possible with as many reps as possible. And for that, speed is important, because the faster you go, the more of them you can see.